We are a group of students at Boise State University in the Adolescent and Adult Development class. We have been tasked with teaching our peers an aspect of adolescent development. Adolescents are at risk of internalizing behaviors because they are still developing the ability to work through strong and sometimes overwhelming emotions. This age group is especially vulnerable to stressors and cognitive distortions. For many teens, maladaptive coping strategies result in eating disorders, anxiety, depression, and tragically, suicide. Part of the adolescent experience is a multitude of internalizing behaviors. By teaching our peers about this topic, we are able to prepare them to recognize these behaviors in themselves or other adolescents, as well as other common manifestations. In order to effectively teach our topic of internalizing problems, we first had to establish a set of learning objectives. These objectives were to identify internalization in others and self and analyze common manifestations, to evaluate different ways to address internalizing behaviors from the perspective of a peer, future parent, or professional while keeping the adolescent's safety in mind, apply knowledge in recommending actions that address internalizing behaviors in adolescents, apply knowledge of eating disorders to case studies, develop skills in interacting with someone who is suicidal or depressed in a way that is helpful, and finally, apply an understanding of the benefits and uses of a stress reduction exercise to better deal with the stressors of life. As a group, we compiled some preparatory materials for students to read and watch prior to coming to class. This ensured that students were prepared for the lesson at hand. These materials included several sections of our textbook, various YouTube videos, and several scholarly articles. We also posted a blog prompt for students to complete before coming to class. This blog prompt was to identify several symptoms of internalizing behaviors and some ways to help those that exhibit these behaviors. It also asked for words of advice for parents of adolescents experiencing these behaviors. For our main lecture, we constructed a colorful visual PowerPoint to convey the core ideas about internalizing behaviors. These slides included visuals, contrasting colors, and key information to take away. As students ourselves, we understand that attention spans of the average student rarely last longer than 10 minutes. With that in mind, we opted for short videos, group work, and whiteboard activities to break up our lecture slides and to keep our audience engaged in the material. We also had students break into small groups to discuss what they saw in the various videos. They then walked around the classroom to see what other students had also written on their boards to encourage further collaboration. We also had them work on an eating disorder case study as a team and then discuss their answers together as a class. We invited a guest speaker who has worked for Idaho's suicide hotline to answer some questions the class may have about the myths and facts about depression. We included a disclaimer to the class stating that this may be a triggering topic for some and that they could skip the first 30 minutes of class if necessary. However, we encouraged everyone to come because of how prevalent suicide is in Idaho and because we would be learning ways to interact with someone who may be expressing suicidal ideations. We thought a guest speaker would be an interesting use of class time as they provide new insight and knowledge that we otherwise would not be able to provide for the class. As an exit ticket, we had students write down any questions they had about internalizing behaviors or questions they wanted to ask our guests. We started the next class period by addressing these questions. Our guest gave a brief presentation about herself and her time at the Idaho Suicide Hotline. She explained different ways to identify internalizing behaviors or suicidal ideations, such as withdrawal from activities and the desire to get rid of personal belongings. We learned that language is important and that we should avoid phrases such as suicide is selfish, which may burden the victim and make them feel more shame. She also dispelled several myths and misconceptions commonly believed regarding suicide, such as one attempt does not mean no more will follow. Most importantly, she provided the class with resources to turn to in case they felt like they or their loved ones needed help. She gave out the hotline number and listed several other resources readily available for anyone experiencing these ideations. After our speaker, we then lectured more from our PowerPoint and discussed the sources of adolescent stress. We ended class with a 4-7-8 breathing technique to reduce stress and promote relaxation. We also played a video of a baby laughing and a kitten giving life advice to end on a happier note and encourage our peers to take care of themselves over break. To engage the class and apply the material, breaking down the topics into 10 to 20-minute sections was very helpful. Learning was reinforced through case studies, group work, and visual aids. By using a guest speaker specializing in an aspect of internalizing problems such as suicide prevention, we integrated a level of expertise we did not possess ourselves. Inviting an expert into the class also opened up opportunities for students to connect within the local community and increase not only the content of their resume, but also potentially save lives in the process. On behalf of Boise State University and in conjunction with my peers, Haley Reynolds, Heather Whitaker, and Jacqueline Reyes, this is Julia Vasiliev. Thank you so much for watching this video, and we hope you enjoyed.